Our current president has failed in his most basic duty to the nation. He's failed to protect us. He's failed to protect America. And my fellow Americans, that is unforgivable. As president, I'll make you a promise. I'll protect America. I will defend us from every attack, seen and unseen, always, without exception, every time.
Wow. Also, he pledges never to give you up, never to let you down, not to run around and desert you. Yeah. He will never make you cry. He will never say goodbye. He will never tell a lie or hurt you.
Well, did you see here, what Joe Biden left out of that speech is what he said at the beginning of COVID, which is that we shouldn't shut down travel from China. He called Trump's travel ban a hysterical xenophobia, to use his words. And I think, so there's this kind of formal aspect of why it was so wrong to launch this attack. There's also the substance, though. All these Democratic politicians handled COVID way worse than Donald Trump. And right. Andrew Cuomo, his policies are directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of elderly New Yorkers. Nancy Pelosi.
But that's just a metaphor.
Oh, it's a metaphor.
For how bad Andrew Cuomo is at his job.
No, you're right. You make that good point. When was Nancy Pelosi going to say, hey, come on down to Chinatown, like she did without a mask, no social distancing at the start of COVID? I guess what they're banking on is what we've been talking about all night, which is that the press are going to fawn over them. They're not going to call them out for any of this. And it's a total fantasy.
So this brings me to my theory on how Donald Trump could be guaranteed to win the election. You guys want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
Yep. Donald Trump gets 8 primetime hours next week for the RNC. If the RNC had been first before the DNC, my strategy would not work because I actually think the media would just not play it. Since they played all 8 hours in primetime of the DNC, they have to play the RNC. I think that they should put 2 giant screens up, and no matter who is speaking, during the national anthem, during the benediction, during the president's speech, during the vice president's speech, the entire time, they should be playing footage of the riots in Portland and the riots in Seattle and the Chaz zone and all the violence that's happening all across this country. Because the media will not tell people the truth about these protests. When he's tried this trick before, they actually have pulled, even Fox News shut down the feed so that you couldn't see it. Yeah. They can't do that with the actual Republican National Convention. And if they do, they give him the presidency again just by, so dare them. He should run it for all 8 hours, even when he's not talking about it, and dare them not to play it. Because here's my theory. People actually vote, and in particular, suburban housewives vote on the basis of how a candidate makes them feel. In the case of George W. Bush, he made them feel safe, as opposed to John Kerry, who seemed inconsistent. Flip-flop, flip-flop. You remember this? It was a great a way of framing John Kerry vis-a-vis George W. Bush, because one makes you feel safe and the other makes you feel insecure. In the case of Barack Obama made people feel noble and virtuous, and they were able to feel good about themselves when they voted for him. Donald Trump made people feel empowered in 2016. He made people feel like they could have a voice when they hadn't had one before. But his behavior since then makes people feel insecure because he's bombastic, because he's boorish. He makes you a little embarrassed. Even people who are going to vote for him, often they'll say, I hate that I have to vote for him, but look at the other guy. That means there's a whole other range of people who won't vote for him, who have that exact same sentiment, but are just breaking the other way. He has to not let this be a referendum on Donald Trump. If it's a referendum on Donald Trump will lose. He needs to make it a referendum on the left. They've overplayed their hand. The president's job for the next 2 months, and especially next week, should be to use the power of his pulpit to shine a light on what the Democrats are actually doing. You don't have to know what they will do when they win. They're doing stuff right now, and every bit of it is bad. If you could put a camera in the morgues in New York City, I'd say you should do that. But that's not the way that the world works. So he should instead focus in on these riots and let people know you should feel worse. This is what the Democrats are banking on. Basically, Ben, you made this point. They offered no affirmative message at their convention. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were actually afterthoughts, to use your language, Ben. It was all about orange man bad, orange man bad. Donald Trump needs to actually invert that and say, yeah, it's not about me either. It is actually about them. They are worse. You know, we have friends in the sort of Never Trump movement who basically they're going to support Joe Biden for the presidency. And when I listen to their arguments, the arguments all come back to Donald Trump is such a threat to our societal norms that even though we like his policies better, like every one of them is more happy that we have Brett Kavanaugh as a Supreme Court justice than they would be to have another Sotomayor, for example, on the court. Every one of them is pro-life. Every one of them wants lower taxes. But what they're basically saying is none of our policy preferences matter compared to the damage that Donald Trump does to our actual societal norms. And my response is the Democrats are running communist riots in major American cities, burning things to the ground. They've broken the economy. They've shut down churches. They've shut down all social interactions. They're openly against free, not just the First Amendment, but every aspect of the First Amendment. They're against free exercise. They're against free assembly unless your Black Lives Matter. They're against free speech unless you're saying the things that they have approved of. They're against the Second Amendment. They're against due process. They're actually saying that due process is a white supremacy. Yeah, it's a supremacist institution. They're against trial by jury. Get accused of a sexual assault on any American college campus and raise the idea that you're entitled to a trial by a jury of your peers. They're against the Electoral College. They're against every piece of the actual framework of our society. Listen, is Donald Trump a threat to some of our societal norms? Yeah, I think he is. But he's the lesser threat to our societal norms. The Democrats are violently opposed to and I use violence as a literal term, violently opposed to our societal norms. And the president has the power to force the media to cover that next week. Hey, you. It's me, Jeremy Boring. You already know that, of course. That's because you just watched the Daily Wire Backstage. As the cigar smoke settles after another perfectly executed episode, why not ensure you never miss out on Daily Wire content? Go ahead and give that subscribe button a push. I'll wait. There you go. That's it. Much obliged, my friend. We will see you next time.